All right. Hello. Can you see that? I usually can't see that. Sorry. Anyway, hi. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Monica Glass. I am a chef and wellness coach on a mission to help you live your most joyfully nourished life through the kitchen. And I've been gone the past 2 weeks, and it feels like forever now because I haven't done one of these, but I'm trying to be consistent on Mondays. I know next Monday I cannot. It is my dad's birthday, so don't miss me too much next Monday. But thank you for joining me here today, and we are making something super seasonal that I just kind of came up with a whim this past week because I had extra fennel. Look at this beauty. Beautiful fennel. This is from Giordano's in Philadelphia, one of my favorite produce places here. Had some extra fennel. Also had some beautiful Meyer lemons. I can't tell you how much I love these. The first time I tasted a Meyer lemon was when I was working at Gotham Bar and Grill with pastry chef Deborah Rassicott. She introduced me to these, and they are just so special. So something about a Meyer lemon, it's kind of a cross between, I guess, a traditional lemon, a conventional lemon, and a mandarin. So while it looks like a lemon, its skin is a little smoother. Think a little more like an orange, mandarin orange, yeah. It's a little smoother. And the flesh, the innard part, is not quite as sour or acidic as a lemon, but it's a little more mellow. It still has that nice acidity. So it is acidic, but it's not like, it's a sweeter acidic. So if that makes sense, sorry if my words are not always making sense. But anyway, it's like a more mellow lemon, sweet kind of, even like a little fruitier than a traditional lemon. And it's just super fragrant. And I love all sorts of different citruses. One day, my dream is to own an exotic citrus orchard. But this is one of, it's one of the most special types of lemons out there, or types of citruses out there. Right now is kind of the tail end of the season. It is available winter through the springtime, the earlier springtime. So right now, so if you see them out there, please get them. I have seen them in like Whole Foods, Sprouts as well. If you have one of those two around you, I don't know about Acme or Giant or any of those stores. But we're going to cook with that today. And I had some beautiful crab, just some lump crab meat that I got from Samuel's in Philadelphia, Samuel's Seafood. This did come in a can, but it's still delicious. And we're coming into crab season soon. So I am so excited to start cooking with crabs because it's one of my favorite proteins. All right, but with all those ingredients extras, what I decided to come up with this week was I was craving some pasta. It was a little colder this week in Philadelphia. So I made a Meyer lemon, fennel, and crab pasta. Now, if you are dairy-free, please omit the cream, omit the cheese. You can use whatever you want instead. You can use a dairy-free substitute. I do recommend that. I try not to eat too much dairy, but I do eat some dairy. So that's why I did include it in this recipe. It's really not that much when, you're making a huge pot of it. This will feed probably about 8 people, 6 if you're really hungry. And it's a small amount, but if you can't have it at all, please, by all means, use your favorite dairy-free substitute, or just omit it. It would be great also with some extra pasta water to really loosen the sauce. But yeah, it's pretty standard ingredients. Otherwise, we're going to make the first thing we're going to do, which I minced some shallots. If you don't want to mince them, you could always just rough chop them. You could slice them. That would also be delicious, but I wanted to mince them. And then what I'm going to show you how to do now is cut the fennel. This is a large bulb. So I am going to take the 2 outer skins off, and I may or may not use the whole entire piece of fennel, it's a bulb, the bulb of fennel. But this is a large one. So to cut the fennel, first we're going to cut these tips off. You can save these. You can do other things. You can put them in stocks. They're delicious. We're actually going to use some of the fronds to garnish. I know not all fennel bulbs come like that. Your grocery store might sell it like this, and that's also totally fine. But if you do have these, save them, use them for something else. You can slice them super thin and put them in salads, delicious. Roast them as well. But I'm gonna put them off here to the side. And what I'm gonna do is just cut off that root end. And then I'm gonna peel these really thick layers off. Let's see. Oh, there's a little guy growing inside. This one is pretty thick on the outside. So yeah, I'm going to cut this one off too. I just need to try to save as much of it as possible, but it gets too tough to really break down when they're super, super thick. You can also save these and throw them in stock. That would add a delicious anise flavor to it because your fennel is in the anise family. But now this is a pretty good sized one. So I'm going to use the whole thing of this now. And what I'm going to do is we're going to slice it because what I want is kind of it to really melt into the pasta. So you're not really going to notice that it's there. If you wanted to chop it or you wanted to put it through your Robocoo food processor and just blitz it, that would also be fine. But I'm going to make it super thin so it kind of melts into the pasta. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut it into quarters. So I just cut it each piece in half. And then we're going to slice it. And I am slicing it on my mandolin. It's pretty thin here. And if you're going to do this, be very careful because the mandolin is sharp. And as you just saw there, the fennel will come apart a little bit. Okay, there we go. Because once you cut the root end off, all the pieces can come apart. Okay. All right, I'm going to slice up those last two, but I'm going to get my stove on up here. And I will be switching out the pans. If this is what you're watching right now down here, good. That's fine. I will be switching them out so you can see me do the breadcrumbs while our shallots and fennel are sweating. And I like to do this, really take your time and do this. I'm probably going to rush it tonight just so we don't have a longer class. But if you have the time, by all means, please take the time to really sweat your vegetables because when you do them low and slow, it coaxes out the beautiful natural sweetness. And they taste so much better than if you just do it on high heat. Okay, got my fennel. You can save them for stock, those little pieces, or put them in your compost. And I know this one's a little hard to work on. All right, pan is probably hot right now. So that's about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And what I'm going to do is add our shallots. And our fennel. I'm actually going to switch this now to the back as we prep the other ingredients and get our breadcrumbs ready. Little fennel fronds. Make such a mess. I'll get it coated just so you can see this. And now I'm going to switch it to the back. I'll bring it back up here. We're going to make our breadcrumbs, our topping. I also have a pot of water boiling on the stove just in case, or not just in case, for my pasta, but just in case you can't see it, for my pasta, because we are going to eventually boil the pasta. I'm not going to do that quite yet. But we're going to start with our breadcrumbs. So for here, we're going to do olive oil again, or avocado oil. I'm actually using avocado oil for this. About a cup of just regular old breadcrumbs. You can use panko. You can use ones that you from stale bread and you grind up yourself. These are gluten-free because I'm gluten-free and everything I make is gluten-free, but please know that you can also just use the regular substitute. You can use the gluten-free, whatever you need to adapt this recipe. It's just a guideline. And then we're going to do 3 of the Meyer lemons. So my Meyer lemons are slightly different sized. And I want to show you this as well, just to be like, or to show you the example of these are super squishy and juicy, and we'll probably put a lot of juice out, probably about 40 grams to 50 grams each of juice. This one will not. So I would definitely use more Meyer lemons if you have teeny tiny ones that are a little harder, and weigh them out if you have this. Most of this recipe is in the standard American units, the cups, the teaspoons, but I did write the grams in this because I do recommend that you weigh everything. And if you want a recommendation on a scale, my favorite scale, the Ascali. All right, what we're gonna do to start here is we don't need to heat the pan up for this because we're just gonna kind of combine it all together. And I am just about done. I'm gonna use a little more. Use a little olive oil as well. That's about 2 tablespoons. And we're going to put our breadcrumbs in here. I'm going to season it with a little bit of salt. And if you are using the larger ones, you can probably get away with 2. If you're using the smaller ones, I would have to use 3, maybe even 4, depending upon how small they are. But we're going to zest it. Just put the zest in here, and then we're going to save these and juice them for our pasta, as well as using some zest of some other ones. Also, a nice, easy way that I like to zest is I hold the fruit that I'm zesting in my non-dominant hand, and then I hold my zester, my microplane zester, in my dominant hand. And that way, I can really get around there. You can see. And it's pretty clean. You can just go back and do a few little things. But what I find is that is way faster than doing it this way and trying to turn it and zest it. And then you just go around and like basically do the same part over and over again. So that's why I do it this way. I used to have a lot of case races also at that same restaurant, Gotham Bar and Grill. When I was first starting out, I had to do all the menial tasks like zest a lot of citrus. We would get cases in of Meyer lemons or regular lemons, oranges, limes, and make things out of them. Usually we would make curds or, I don't know, slices, candied slices. And this is the way that I figured out that would be the fastest to go through a whole case and zest them. I'm only going to use 2 since I used the 2 large ones there. And I'm going to set those on the side because we're going to juice those in a little bit. Now I'll turn my heat on. All right, fennel and the shallot are cooking. Here, we're just going to stir it. I'm stirring it with my rubber spatula, kind of get the olive oil and the lemon zest to coat all of the breadcrumbs. And you're just going to do this on pretty low heat until everything starts to get a little bit golden brown. We don't want to do it over high heat, and we do want to stir it pretty often. Now that's pretty good, pretty well combined. We do want to stir it pretty often, so it's not sitting on the pan, it's not completely burning or browning on just one side. It's going to really thoroughly and evenly turn to a golden color, and we want them to be golden. You could also, yes, put these in the oven and do the same type of thing. It's pretty easy to do it on the stovetop, and then you can actually control how they brown. All right, and you know what? I am actually, while this is going, I'm going to cook my pasta. Since my water is up to a boil, I'm going to cook my pasta and reserve a little bit of that pasta water. It'll take a couple of minutes. I am using haven't actually tried this brand of gluten-free pasta, but I saw it in the store and I've been curious about it. I've tried a couple different brands before. It's good pasta, I assume. I don't know, but I'm going to try this and see how this works. So my water is up to a boil. I am going to now salt it. Nice, generous amount of kosher salt. And then we're going to put the pasta in. And it should take 10-ish minutes, give or take. Looks like a pretty hearty pasta. And then obviously use whatever pasta you want. Go by the instructions on that, on your pasta's box. But you do, whatever type of pasta you're using, you do want to reserve some of the pasta sauce or pasta water. All right, well, this is going and our fennel is also cooking. Just gonna give it a little stir. I have 2 Thai chilies here. I only did 2 because they are pretty large, if you can see that. If you have smaller Thai chilies, use 3. You can use 4 if you like a lot of heat. So I'm going to cut the stems off. And then what I'm going to do is squeeze out at least most of the seeds. I don't mind if a few seeds get in there because I like spice and I like heat. But if I put all of those seeds in there, it would be pretty spicy. So I'm just getting them over into my compost so they don't just get all over my cutting board. All right, if you can see here, they are starting to brown a little bit. And then now I'm just going to slice them. And I slice them pretty thin so you just don't get like huge chunks of the Thai chili because you just want it to like nicely add a little tiny bit of heat to it. Not so much heat that we can't taste our food. Okay. And there. All right, breadcrumbs are looking good, so we're just gonna have to keep them going. Of course, if you can get fresh crab, that would be amazing. I did get the canned crab, but it's still very good canned crab. All right, come on, pasta. And this is where you do want to pay attention if you're doing them stovetop, because you don't want them to brown unevenly. They're looking pretty nice and golden. All right. So some of the bigger chunks you still have yet to go, but I don't want the smaller pieces to burn. So I'm probably going to take it off in a little bit because it will start like the carryover cooking. The carryover heat will continue cooking. And you can transfer this into another pot or bowl, anything clean, but I'm just going to keep it in here because I think they're pretty good right now. If you look at this, it's not going to burn off the heat. All right, and now bring this over. We're going to need a little more time on this. Smells great, but they definitely need to sweat a little more. All right, let's see. Meanwhile, the other ingredients that I have 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I always use unsalted butter because I like to control the amount of salt in my recipes. Whether for cooking, for baking, I highly recommend unsalted butter. And then I have a 1/2 cup of heavy cream. This recipe is also very easily cut into half if you're only cooking for a couple people or one person. I'm just making the big recipe right now to get it done with. see, what else? I have garlic. I have 4 cloves that I grated it. You can mince it, you can slice it if you want to, but for this recipe, I do recommend grating or mincing it. I know I do love to use sliced garlic in some recipes. And then, let's see, I have a 1/2 cup of white wine. I also recommend a drier white wine, something not too sweet, especially because the Meyer lemons have a slightly sweeter flavor than a typical lemon. You want to use a more acidic wine so we can add that acid back in. And then I have some Parmesan cheese, about a 1/2 cup as well. And then some chives and the fennel fronds that we're going to put on the top to garnish it. Oh, and our crab that I mentioned. Salt and pepper, obviously. All right, let's juice these lemons. I do have a little cut on my hand, so I'm going to wear gloves. And for the actual recipe, you want 2. And these are pretty large ones, and that's the size, like the pretty large and juicy. So it's about 80 grams. I am actually, you know what I'll do? I'll weigh it for you on camera. It smells really good. Pop it in. All right, pasta is cooking. See, these are such juicy lemons. They're so good. Strainer. All right, 75 grams. So super close to 80. That's what we're going to use, 75 grams. And then if we need to, we can always add more because you're going to have the extra anyway. So this is browning them a little more. It's harder to control the heat on here. So basically, we just want to sweat them, make them nice and translucent. Really no color, but it's already on. Actually, see, that's the problem. When I turn it on low, it turns it off, but it's easier to show on the camera. So disregard the color. They should be a little more translucent, less browned. All right, but they're looking pretty good right now. So I'm going to add the garlic. I'm also going to add the Thai chili. You can omit the Thai chili if you don't like spice or heat. And I'm also going to season it with some salt. We like to season in layers. And once you start to really smell that garlic, probably about a minute, could be 2 minutes. But once you really start to smell that garlic is when we're going to use the wine and deglaze the pan. Now, just turning it off the heat, and then I'll turn it back on. All right, we're going to let that reduce for a hair. But while that is reducing, let's add the zest of our other 2 lemons. going to do the little one as well because that first one actually didn't have much zest. Oh, so fragrant. I feel like I really didn't play with that much citrus this past winter. I don't know why. I usually love to. Buddha's hand, citron, all the different types of oranges. I love blood oranges, cara cara. I've been eating cara cara, a lot of them. All right. But I haven't like cooked with it too much. I did actually last week make a really great tuna tartare. Maybe I'll do that next week. That could be cool. Pretty simple too. All right, our wine is mostly, you can see mostly evaporated. That is good. So now I'm going to add our butter. And basically we're going to add the butter and the cream and the extra pasta water at the end to turn it into a nice glossy sauce. We're going to melt the butter. Butter is pretty melted. All right, cool. So now I'm going to add the heavy cream. I'm going to add my cheese. Get those together so it all melts together. Just waiting for the cheese to melt at this point. And we're going to reduce it for another minute to two, really to bring it all the flavors together, to get everything infused into the cream. And then I'm going to add my lemon juice. Okay, check my pasta. Almost there. Oh, it smells so good. And I highly recommend tasting, seeing if we need to season. All right, now I'm going to add our lemon juice. Taste again. Tiny bit of salt. Add some pepper. And let that cook for a couple seconds to thicken the sauce. Meanwhile, I'm going to reserve some of our pasta water. Just have a ladle. Pasta water is really great to help thicken sauces, loosen sauces, just does all the above. You can thicken a sauce because it has the starch in there, and then you can also loosen a sauce because you're adding some water to it, but it's really great for the body because the starches of the pasta come off. I'm going to drain my pasta now. All right, I'm going to add my crab in. Remember, I'm just going to carefully fold it in. We really want to keep, these are smaller lumps of crab, but especially if you get beautiful, like thick back fin, the big lumps, you want to make sure to preserve those lumps. I mean, they're special. Crab is very special. I love crab. Okay. Again, I just recommend tasting everything. At this point, you can see if you want to add more lemon or anything else. I think that's good. I'm going to add a pinch of the pasta sauce to help, that's hot, to help thicken it without boiling it too much. Just a little bit. That's probably about 2 tablespoons there. Again, it depends on what kind of pasta you're using, how much you reduced this beforehand as well. Bring it up to a little tiny simmer. And I'm going to throw my pasta in. Coat it. As you can see, it's a pretty large plate of pasta or pot of pasta, so it feeds a lot of people. You can also let it simmer just a hair more to make it a little more saucy. And plate. I have one little piece of pasta that's not quite cooked. It was the end. It's all right. And now to top it, our breadcrumbs. Do a couple, 2 handfuls of that. Gives it a little bit of texture and some extra crunch and deliciousness. Going to chop our chives. I do like a lot of chives. If you don't have chives, feel free to use scallions, green onions. Any of the above would be fine. And then a couple little fennel fronds. If your fennel did not come with fennel fronds, don't worry about it. You don't need them. I just kind of like them. I think they finish the dish nicely. And then it's, less waste for them. But again, put them in your stock the next time you make stock. Freeze this and save it for later. And oh, there you go. I know my computer is pretty close up to here, so it's hard to, it's going to be really hot though. Bon appetit. Hope you enjoyed this class. As always, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you for joining me on this channel. I always love to read your comments. So please, if you have a comment, if you make the recipe, let me know. Tag me on Instagram, post your picture and tag me at Chef Monty, or feel free to DM me. You can always email me too via my website, chefmonicaglass.com. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. And if you also have any recipes that you want to learn, please leave them in the comments. Let me know, and I'm happy to make them for you, gluten-free. Have a good night, everybody.